what's up, guys? Welcome to week 4. Setting a DraftKings lineup here. Sorry I missed y'all last week. I guess I'm not that sorry. I was in New York, making a fool of myself, watching Derek Jeter play some baseball. So, yeah, I'm really not that sorry at all. But with that said, let's hop into this. And we're setting a cash lineup here, so keep that in mind. It's definitely not going to be geared towards your large tournament plays, but I am the believer in setting an optimal lineup, regardless of tournament or cash. So I think when trying to go contrarian or trying to get some low-owned guys whose ownership percentage, might be down, I definitely think that there are guys you can get off of because there's lots of chalk plays. But anyways, not quite sure where I went on a tidbit about that, but anyway, let's set this lineup. So let's knock our quarterback out of the way. And Drew Brees definitely comes in as my number one ranked quarterback on the week, as you can see on the cheat sheet. But I don't think that we need to pay for him. Don't get me wrong, totally a great play. There's some other guys that I want to work in, and I don't think that we need to pay up for Drew Brees. And that's going to lead us to Colin Kaepernick, sitting at $7,600. And he threw 3 interceptions in week 2 against the Bears, but he still managed to have like 16 fantasy points because of his rushing ability. He's been able to keep his fantasy points per game floor up by averaging 8.6 rush attempts and 36 pass attempts. Quick note, he attempted 30 or more passes 3 times last year. He's already done so twice in his first 3 games this year. So it looks like he's already seeing a little bit more in volume, and due to his expected increase in volume, thank you, Chip Kelly, we could see close to 41 pass attempts and 11 rushing attempts. So I think it's also worth noting that according to PFF, the Eagles grade out in the middle of the pack when it comes to pass coverage and pass rush. So when you factor in his low salary, and I think he's pretty low, his price is pretty low on FanDuel as well compared to the other quarterbacks that are out there. And then you take the team total at 28. He's kind of just like my go-to quarterback, especially when setting a cash game lineup. I do like what's his name, Tony Romo, down here at $6,700. I think he's a great pair. Like if you want to get off Colin Kaepernick, go to Tony Romo and pair Romo with Dez. I think that's great against the Saints defense. But for now, we're gonna stick with Colin Kaepernick. Quick little side note about DraftKings here. If you guys don't know, click this button. It auto advances to the next spot. So when you fill out your running back, it's automatically going to go down to your wide receiver, so on and so forth. So give that guy a little check. It'll make your life a lot easier. What do you say? Let's fill out one of these running backs. And I don't think there's really any way to go away from this guy. The only other guy that I could see going instead of him would probably be Matt Forte, but we're going to go with Bell here in our running back slot. So it's just the workload's been great. He's averaged 18 carries and 5 receptions through 3 games, and the Steelers being a 7.5 point favorite, I expect that workload to. Obviously, he's still going to see his normal amount of touches, but I expect that workload to increase just because I see them trying to kill a little bit of clock. It's that simple. So the best parts about Le'Veon Bell is his matchup against Tampa Bay. They've allowed an average of 126 yards and close to 1.5 TDs to opposing teams' running backs so far. And real quick, the next couple stats that I rattle off are going to be all from Pro Football Focus, so PFF. And sorry, my phone just went off. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for ruining my my podcast here. Appreciate that. You can follow Matt at FFRiddle on Twitter. He's got some good stuff for the Garbage Pail Kids. So as you're setting these lineups, make sure to read his content as well for the premium subscribers with all those cheap plays you can work in and save some cap space. But anyways, so everything that I roll off next is going to be according to Pro Football Focus. And if you're looking to become a serious player or really gain an edge and understand why we make the picks that we make here at Project Roto, I think that you should, at least subscribe to him for a month. It's like $10. Just look at it. But anyways, so Tampa Bay has been well below the league average at 18% missed tackle rate. And then you take Bell's elusive rating of 85%, which, to give that some weight, is its second highest in the NFL. And the fact that he sees 27% of the team's red zone opportunities, I think that he is just like your clear-cut number one. He catches passes. He's averaging a ton of targets. His carries, like I said in the beginning, he's averaging 18 carries. It's just and he comes at a discount compared to Forte. Even compared to Foster, he's the same price as Jamal. Like I said, DeMarco Murray and Forte, though, like if you want to spend up for them and you're saving somewhere else, like maybe you are going Tony Romo, and that gives you that little bit of an extra salary cap, I have zero qualms going to DeMarco Murray. This guy's a stud. But for me, it's Le'Veon Bell. So what do you say? Let's pair up our wide receiver here. Let's get Michael Crabtree out of the way. So I like a lot of guys at wide receiver this week, but I found myself using like four of them. So using all three wide receiver spots and then even putting one in my flex, which is definitely not the smartest thing for cash games, since wide receivers present the most variance out of really any position, I guess maybe other than tight end. But like a lot of what I said with Crabtree, with Kaepernick applies to Crabtree, right? So you've got a lot of volume coming towards Crabtree. You've got the iffy pass coverage, and then you also have the high team total. And I like pairing up my wide receiver with my quarterback. It's usually something I reserve for GPPs, just because if one goes off, the other one should go off. You're hedging your bet there. It's probably not the right word to use, but I'll use it anyways. So the other thing with Crabtree, though, too, is that he's seeing 27% of his team's targets, and the Eagles are giving up an average of 11 targets and 98 yards to opposing teams' number one wide receivers. So it's a volume play. So Vegas has him projected has a team total at 28. Lots of touchdown probability coming towards San Francisco's way. So I'm gonna slot in Michael Crabtree there. And tell you what, let's get rid of our defense and let's go with the Dolphins. This is really they come at a good price. They go up against Oakland. There's not a ton to be said here. I do like the Chargers are at the same price at $3,100 against Jacksonville, so you could go that route as well. If you want to spend up, I could definitely see going with the Patriots against Alex Smith. I think we're gonna sit right here at the Dolphins, and this is gonna change for me. I'm gonna look at some more injury reports and see what's going on, and maybe attack Bortles and the Jacksonville offense. So it's just, but right now, setting this lineup, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. So now that we got that out of the way, what do you say? Let's get another wide receiver out of the way, and let's grab Michael Floyd. So this guy is like not the smartest cash play, but I'm using him for salary because I want to work in another running back who's got a pretty high price tag. And I think working in this second running back up here that you'll see in a second is going to help mitigate some of Floyd's risk. So and really he's like a pure salary play, but what's nice is that the San Diego is projected at 29 points. So and I think that's the highest team total. So we know that they're scoring. Vegas has them estimated scoring somehow. I'm concerned, and this is where don't lock this lineup in. This is really just me walking you through my thoughts. I never suggest that you lock these lineups in because it's usually not what I end up with. Come Sunday morning at 5 minutes before roster's lock, I usually make that last lineup swap that ends up murdering me. But with Floyd, he's super boomer bust. He runs a really low percentage of his routes, and most of those consist down the sideline, which equals the boomer bust play. And like I said here, let's get rid of the second running back here so you can see where I'm coming from. going with Forte in our second running back slot, I really think helps, eliminate a lot of using Floyd here because of what Forte is capable of doing. He's not only sets like a really high floor for you, and he leads on that floor, like he leads all running backs with 8 pass targets per game. So there's a floor in a full point PPR on DraftKings. I mean that's setting your floor right away. And the best part too is he gives you an outstanding opportunity for a high ceiling. An example of that would be that he had 2-3 touchdown games last year. You take Green Bay's run defense, which ranks near the bottom half of the league, 24th, which puts them in between the Colts and the Titans. And then Green Bay has given up 4 TDs to opposing teams' running backs throughout the first 3 weeks. I think the matchup is fantastic. If there's no Marshall, I think we're seeing all Forte and all Alshon. And Alshon is a great play too. I'm not going to cover him here, but I did highlight him in the cheat sheet. And if there's no Alshon, if there's no Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey becomes probably tied for my second wide receiver on the week with Dez Bryant. I still have Calvin number 1, but Alshon would definitely work his way right next to that Dez Bryant tier. Let's get rid of our tight end, and that guy is Travis Kelce. So I just there's a lot of misconception with the Patriots defense. They've led the league in passing yards allowed. So it's like, well, let's fade Alex Smith and Travis Kelce, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's wrong. They led the league in that stat because they faced Miami, Oakland, and Minnesota. So, and it's skewed a little bit, so I don't want to read into it a ton. Travis Kelce's usage continues to increase though, right? So 19 snaps in week 1 all the way up to 47 snaps last week. And he has at least one red zone look each week. So in our big body tight end, which is funny because according to playerprofile.com, when you go look at his burst scores, his wingspan, et cetera, and just looking at size and his athleticism score, the most comparable player to him that playerprofile.com recommends is Rob Gronkowski. And that's because they're both like 6'5", 240 pounds. I think Gronk's 6'6", but just freak of nature. So let's get Travis Kelce. I think he's $3,700. There he is right there. So we've got Travis Kelce in our tight end spot. Our flex spot down here, we're going to go with the running back once again to help mitigate some of the risk of going with Malcolm Floyd. And that running back is going to be probably the most owned running back this week. This is that chalk play. Donald Brown is definitely the chalk play. Bell and Brown are the guys that I own the most. If I'm looking to spend high on a wide receiver, I usually sub out Donald Brown into Matt Forte's spot. So I'll put Brown up into my running back 2 spot, and then I'll spend up at a wide receiver here. Somebody like Dez Bryant, one of those higher tiered, higher price wide receivers in a tournament, looking for some big boomer bust. But I've said this before and I'm gonna say it again. I will roster a less talented player with a better opportunity over a talented player who sees limited looks or is in a tough matchup or doesn't get as many touches, something along those lines. I want opportunity. Opportunity sets a floor and it gives players the chance to perform. With the Chargers being 13.5-point favorites, the game script should be very similar to what it was last week, where he saw 31 touches and 6 targets. It just gives Brown the opportunity to produce. It's that simple. With the Jags grading out as the 31st worst run defense, and Brown is in line to see like 26 plus touches. I think that's honestly, I think 26 touches is like a median projection. I don't even think that's a high projection. I really think that he's going to exceed that. He's going to exceed $5,400 from $1 per point value on DraftKings. So plug Donald Brown in, whether it's not in your flex, maybe in your running back too. Let's grab our last wide receiver here. And honestly, there's a lot of different things you could do with this last wide receiver. We've got $5,000. So let's scroll down and let's take a look and see who we have at $5,000. If you're fading Crabtree, Anquan Bolden is like the guy to go with. I think that he could be the low owned guy that some guys overlooked and went with Crabtree. Marquise Colson at $4,800. I mean, we all talk about how good the Saints matchup is. He's just, people are going to be off him because he hasn't excelled, and that's what we want to look for as a daily fantasy player. We want to look for a guy who is well below what his expected salary should be. So Marquise Colson is a great play, but the guy that I'm looking at is DeAndre Hopkins for Houston. He's like really like the complete opposite play of Michael Floyd. His team has a low projected total of 22, but he sees a ton of team targets. So it's the complete opposite of Floyd here. Hopkins has 19 targets through 3 weeks. Andre Johnson has 27, just to give that some perspective. And he has a much higher catch rate of 68% compared to Johnson's 59%. He's not like 6'5", 240 pound Kelvin Benjamin, but he should create some size mismatches against Buffalo's secondary. He does come in at 6'1" and 215 pounds, and according to playerprofile.com, he owns the 32nd fastest 40 out of all wide receivers in the National Football League right now. So, this is where we're at. I don't hate it. It's not something that I'm entirely in love with at this point. Like, if we were to mess around with this a little bit, I would go, let's get rid of Colin Kaepernick. Let's see. Let's get rid of Donald Brown and Matt Forte, right? And then let's get rid of Crabtree. So we'll use this as a core. And you probably don't want Malcolm Floyd in there as your core. I have to play him now that I just keep bagging on him. So like one of the guys that I really like this week is Curie, if I could spell his name right, at $4,800 as a second running back. He's getting a lot of good looks. So we got Curie in there. Quarterback, let's go with Romo. And then a wide receiver, let's grab Dez, $7,900. And now you've got $8,000 to work with in your flex spot. Really, you're not limited to a lot of, I mean, you can work in almost every single, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that you can't have. So if that's Antonio Brown for you, that's this dude right here who, honestly, I think Jimmy Graham could end up being on the Sunday Million lineup, $100,000 of first place. I think Jimmy Graham could end up being in that first place lineup. He's just so set for a monster week. It's ridiculous. So we've got a little bit of New Orleans there, a little bit of Dallas there, right? So we're attacking that point total. Malcolm Floyd, boomer bust, like I said, runs a really, really low percentage routes, and they're always down the sideline. So, like, I think last week he was 2 for 98. Like, it's just the worst cash game play. Like, I've got to work him out. So let's see, at $4,100 for a wide receiver. And I'm rambling at this point. I'm just kind of walking you guys through a thought process of looking at a core lineup and then breaking it down and getting guys that you might like. Ooh, Marcus Wheaton would have been nice, $4,200. So maybe you were working Marcus Wheaton. You go back to the well with Justin Hunter, super low own. So we're kind of talking a little more GPP here, although I don't hate what we have here for a cash game lineup either. So, there's a lot of different options that you guys have. We could get rid of this defense and just go down just a smidge. Oh man, take the Raiders at $2,600 against turnover-prone Tannehill, and then now we've got $4,600 at wide receiver. Like, that $500 will give us a lot to work with in that middle range wide receiver. All of a sudden, we've got Torrey Smith, we've got Bo, we've got Allen Robinson available, and we have Marcus Wheaton available. So lots of different stuff that you can do this week. I'm kind of having fun building these lineups. So, all right, I'm gonna shut up and let you guys actually build a lineup. And you guys enjoy Sunday tomorrow. Is tomorrow Sunday? What's today? Friday? Yeah. You guys enjoy Sunday in 2 days. And enjoy your Friday night, guys. Have fun, be safe, enjoy setting lineups. Make sure to check out the premium stuff that we offer over at Project Roto, where I do cheat sheets. I do a full analysis of a lot of different players, some of the players that I recommend, but an analysis that really gives weight to the cheat sheets. You've got Matt Riddle's Garbage Pail Kids, which basically dives through FanDuel and DraftKings, exploiting all of the low salary guys, and just, some guys that you can target who can really be the glue to your lineup. And you've got Hude doing the Pursuing the Perimeter blog, breaking down some guys who he's a fan of, who he's not a fan of. So lots of fun stuff at Project Roto. Give us a look. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and enter this, and you guys are all set. Take care.